Greetings, blessings, and good fortune, everybody. Here we are again. It's the Bitcoin Otter Show. Happy Thursday. Thank you for tuning in. We're on 97.7 FM, KCYP, the city, out of McAllen, Texas. We're here in the McAllen Creative Incubator. We're also going out on YouTube. We're going out on Facebook. And there's a couple of apps out there. I believe it's Radio Garden and TuneIn. We're on those too. We have a special guest today, everybody. And hopefully as you tune in and as I get onto the Facebook page here, you're all going to find a familiar face. Well, behind the beard anyway. One of our friends, and you guys, like I said, will know, most of you will know this gentleman. His name is Julian Silva, and he is here to basically give us a little preview of a show that we're going to have, and we're excited about this, a show we're going to have in about 2 weeks. And on this show is going to be a well-known doctor out of San Antonio, the San Antonio area, Dr. Yvonne Edwards. Thank you very much. So, Julian, tell us a little bit about you and tell us about why you're here and what it is that your Concord business does and can help us as listeners.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on the show, Chris.
Absolutely.
I greatly appreciate it. My name is Julian. I'm a local, and I'm here to just kind of advise everybody about our upcoming podcast. We're going to have as a guest Dr. Edwards, and Dr. Edwards is considered as a hospital expert from the San Antonio, Texas area. And we're going to have a roundtable to discuss those questions and myths that people have about hospice. There's a lot of misunderstandings of what's about, how people can qualify, who pays for it, a lot of different questions. And Dr. Edwards is an expert on a lot of the questions that people might have, and then I'll chime in and answer other questions that people might have.
Excellent. The majority of the Bitcoin Otter Show listeners and, the people who tune in and contribute every week, because without them, where would we be, right? But they're here in this area, the RGV area. We've got some people in Florida. We've got some people in New York, but Michigan even. But the vast majority are here in the RGV. And we would, and this is something that the reasons why we're doing this is everyone can benefit from, at the very least, the information about hospice.
Yes.
Because, and the most of us are, I won't say middle-aged, okay, but 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, right? We'll say that. Some of them are even older, some of our viewers. And I'm going to let you say this because you taught me this, okay? Your motto, so to speak, about how we have come into the place where we're reversing the roles. What was it that you said? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
well, I like to coin it, and our agency uses it a lot. It's our turn. Most of the times, a lot of us, at least for me, you can recall when we used to we were taken care of by our parents,
right,
or
right,
our grandparents. They used to take care of us, what you need, and so forth. Well, the role has changed for many of us, and for those that haven't, it will one day happen, right? It's our turn. So that's what I like to say. It's our turn to take care of our loved ones. Sometimes it might be our parents. Sometimes it might be grandparents. So that's what we're going to discuss, those questions that maybe people haven't even thought about. But sometimes some people are going through it and haven't thought it out. So it helps just to get a little bit of information. So it helps you plan out some things you even haven't thought about as a family. Like who's going to take care of mom and dad when we're working, right? Is hospice an option for us? If it is, how does that work? Who's going to pay for it? Right. And sometimes you have estates. Will Medicare and Medicaid cover it? Will our insurance cover it? If we don't have those resources, what can we do? And sometimes our agency or our sister agency or other
because you've networked with others in the same venue, in the same business.
Yes, we help out the community.
Sure.
We'll do some pro bono work and help them out and so forth. It's circumstantial depending on the needs of the patient and so forth. So our agency, I'm the administrator for Concord Hospice, and we service all the Rio Grande Valley area, and we service the San Antonio area currently. We have a sister company, Good Shepherd PHC, that services the what we call Region 8. For those of you that don't know, Region 8 is basically all the way from the Rio Grande Valley, from Laredo, Eagle Pass, Del Rio, Carrizo Springs, Crystal City, Uvalde, and San Antonio. Region 11 is from Corpus all the way up to Zapata. So we service those areas and so forth. So anyway, going back to the main topic, Hospice 101. So if everybody could chime in, join us, call in, or perhaps text some questions on Facebook. We're going to try to connect all those social medias and or just listen in. And that's basically going to be the topic about, who qualifies, when do we need it, can we plan for it?
Right.
Because there's so many different myths out there that people have, not necessarily when, for example, people hear hospice and people think, oh, I don't want to die. I don't want to join hospice. I'm not quitting. No, it's actually sometimes the opposite of that. So many times, some of our clients or patients will need hospice services at the time and they'll recuperate and get super well and just go back to being active.
So hospice can also be used to sustain life in addition to make end-of-life decisions easier, right? So
exactly,
it doesn't necessarily mean end-of-life decisions.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the myths. When people join hospice, they think that they're quitting or that they're going to die. It's not that. Is it part of it? Yes. But is it everything? No. So that's why we want to talk about it, bring other experts in the future if we do any other podcast, is to bring some other experts in the field where we'll have a chaplain, we'll have a social worker, the director of nursing, right? And of course, one of the physicians, an expert in the field to discuss those topics. So there's so many different questions from financials to diagnosis to can I plan for it?
Right.
So it's a real good topic.
But correct me if I'm wrong. The first step is for someone to contact you, right? So you need to be contacted to know a specific case because, I know it's a time-worn phrase, but everything has to be case by case basis. Everyone has their personal details. Everyone has a scenario where it might be special and different from others. So you can tailor the services of Concord Hospice to the needs of the specific person that might need to help mom, dad, and aunt and uncle, something like that, right?
A loved one, yes.
A loved one, yeah. So that is what I would believe the most important thing is if we're going to plan these things, and I was mentioned earlier before the show to Julian, I was saying, you know what? It's much easier and I think better to make decisions, especially things that we know are going to happen. We unfortunately are mortal. And we know things are going to happen at some point or another to our moms or our dads and so forth, our loved ones. So if we're able to make these decisions and get a wider perspective while we are not under stress, while we're not in a crisis, it's much easier to discern and learn the options that we have prior to an event that will basically take our whole ability to think away.
Exactly. So a lot of the times, like, for example, we plan to invest, we plan to retire, right? We plan so many things in our daily lives, but we don't plan for that.
Right.
And we all know we're going to have to pass away one day.
We don't get to opt out.
No, you don't. So this helps, to bring up the topic, answer some questions you might have about it, and perhaps, point you the right direction and start planning for it. We're all going to need it one day.
Right.
All of us.
Right.
Every single one of us. Right. So it's something that I feel all of us should kind of think ahead and start planning for it. And as we get older, it's just a wise thing to do.
Right. And it's part of our I could say duty as someone who was taken care of when, we were this big, right?
Exactly.
It's our turn, as you say. It's our turn, right? So if we fail to plan, right? I mean, I'm sure our parents planned. They bought us a crib. They probably got some clothes for us. They had a shower where they got gifts and diapers and all that stuff. But yet we don't plan for them. No bueno.
No
bueno.
It's not. And you want to start thinking about it and start planning about it because most of everybody, we all have careers, right?
Things to do.
So what are you going to do when, mom and dad have dementia? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
How are you going to pay for it? A lot of questions, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, start thinking about it. And then the family dynamics is sometimes everybody, they don't want to talk about it, but they start thinking, you might have siblings and they think, well, my sister more likely would do it, or my brother, he doesn't
But
work.
they've never discussed it with the other.
Exactly. And being the administrator, I've dealt in the family dynamics. Things that they thought were going to happen don't play out that way.
Right.
So start talking about it.
Albert, Jim, thanks for tuning in. We got you guys on here. If you have any questions about this, please pipe in. I already told you Albert said hi. It's Big Al. So
howdy. How you doing, Albert?
So one of the things that I'm excited about, and again, we're giving everyone a heads up on a Hospice 101 roundtable that's going to occur not next Thursday, but the 1st of February. So 2 Thursdays from now, we're going to have Dr. Yvonne Edwards on, and he's going to talk to us from his experience. And I'll tell you, we had a conference call earlier in the week. And I'll tell you what, I spoke with the good doctor, and he is just that. He's one of those people where when you speak to him, you feel like you've known him for a long time because he's so personable. He's literally, and this really kind of, I won't say it freaked me out, but it set me aback a little bit when we were talking. Dr. Edwards is the last person that many, many people have ever seen before crossing over to the next life.
Yes. So he mentioned that when we were having our phone conference, and he's probably going to chime in or look at the recording. I hope 2
Thursdays.
So Dr. Edwards, once you see this, I hope you don't get upset that we kind of mentioned that what you told us about. And you're right. That was so interesting. He has many years of experience in that field. And when he tells us that those stories that he has,
right,
that he's the last person a lot of people see him before they leave this earth, right? And he starts talking about those stories. So I'm excited that he's going to grace us enough with his presence, and we're going to do a link via one of the socials. I'm not sure how the tech side works, but
we're going to let our people do that.
Yeah.
We have people for that. Well, I'm saying we, but Julian's got people for that. All right. So we also have Frank on and Jaime's on there. Thanks guys for tuning in. So we're gonna set it up, and Joe's gonna have it. Renee is behind the computer right now, and we're gonna have it. It's gonna be as professional as possible. But what I really want you all to be able to listen to is Dr. Edwards speak on his approach to end of life situations. And as we were just talking, hospice is not necessarily end of life. But what really struck me in that conversation were the stories that that he related during that short. It was like a 45-minute conversation,
right?
And it's things you don't really think about. Like he told us he was there at the bedside of a young person, and I'm not talking about a 20-some. I'm talking about this kid was a 7-year-old child, and unfortunately was struck down by a disease. But this child had actually taught Dr. Edwards some things that he related to us in that conversation. It's amazing. Just knowing that guy in a little bit and knowing Julian for years, I'm really excited to bring it together, to have us, have the opportunity to have, I like that term you coined. You must have come up with that, right? The round table kind of thing.
Actually, my team did.
Your team did.
Organization.
Right. Giving props to your people. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So it's a round table in the way of saying that Julie and I are going to be here in studio. Dr. Edwards is going to be remote from San Antonio, but he'll be on the screen. And then, of course, you all is Cynthia's on. Hey, great to see you. So you all will be contributing with your questions, with, maybe even adding in, hey, you know what? I went through this situation before, and this is how it happened. This is how it went, for better or for worse, hopefully for the better. But 2 weeks from now, we're going to do a roundtable with Concord Hospice, owned by Mr. Julian Sila here, and then Dr. Ivan Edwards, who is there in San Antonio, who has his own practice, right?
Yes, he practices in San Antonio, extremely well known in the field. He's an excellent physician in the San Antonio area. So we're also going to try to link his social media
Right.
to our podcast.
So he's got thousands of Mingo. Good to see you, Mingo. I you might know this face, Mingo. Julian Silva, remember? So one of the reasons why, again, another reason why I want to do this is the viewers here of the Bitcoin Otter Show, we're all about preparation. We're all about trying to figure out what might be happening down the road and how to prepare for it. Maybe HEB is going to have another run on toilet paper. What are we going to do? Well, you have some food at the house. You have some water stored at the house, right?
Yeah.
It's simple, right? But we don't have to guess about this one, do we?
No, we don't.
We know mom and dad are not going to be around forever.
No.
We know that at some point or another, if we're dutiful children, we're going to do our part. We're going to help them out in the time of need. And we hope that our kids are going to do the same for us, right?
Yes.
My wife always likes to say, be kind to your kids because he may or may not give you coffee when you're old.
Oh, yeah. And so we should plan for it. And this is a good time to kind of talk about it, start planning for it. If you're like most people, you plan for your retirement, you plan these plans that when you're going to do with your spouse, all these trips and so forth. This should be up there, right? And start talking about even with your own spouse. If this should happen, what should we do? And start planning for it. If your family is prone, like genetically, sometimes that a lot of your family members have had dementia or so many other diagnoses, right? And so forth.
Sure.
CHF, do families members pass away from heart failure, strokes, heart attacks? Have that discussion. Because if you don't, I've seen it on the other side. A lot of the family members, the children, are left to make these big decisions.
In a time of crisis.
Exactly. And they're very stressed out. So help take some of that stress out. Talk about it. Make a family meeting about it, right? Over coffee or whatever, right? And just kind of start discussing, because a lot of family members, when we do pass away, some of the children don't even know that mom and dad want to be cremated or buried.
Right.
Things like that. And then the children start bickering over that as well. So there's so many different family dynamics.
I've
so many.
I've seen it happen before, and it's I won't say
stressful.
It's completely I won't say it's completely avoidable.
Yeah.
But if you do plan ahead, you can head some of those challenges off at the pass, so to speak. Sue, good to see you, Sue. So I guess to bring it to a place where we can introduce the subject. Basically, there are more ways to pay for hospice care than we know. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Okay, that's one thing. Two, we know things are coming down the road, and we should plan for it.
It's going to happen.
Okay. And three, let's do our part. Okay. As kids, as people who have been taken care of, because I know we all have been in some way or another, let's give back. So with those things, we can be equipped to help somebody out, and not just somebody love, somebody that has done so much for us,
right?
That we really can't in a meaningful way repay them, other than try to do the same for them. Did I cover that well? Or
excellent?
Because that's what I envision. What you all do. That's what I envision. Basically, and again, we had this conference. And for those of you who have just tuned in, we had a conference call, and in 2 weeks we're going to have a roundtable discussion with Dr. Ivan Edwards, and he's going to be out of San Antonio, and he's a pro, a consummate pro with like the best bedside manner that I was on a phone call with this guy, and he comes across as so personal, wise. I mean, you were on the call with me. I mean, It's just the guy exudes wisdom without trying. He's not pretentious about it. He's humble.
Extremely humble, extremely down to earth. So all those questions that you might have, that's the time to ask him.
Right.
And we might not even get around to many questions, because once he starts talking about the story, it's you're just taken back. Things you haven't even thought about.
Right.
So it's very extremely interesting.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Julian, if you want, you could stay. If not, I know you're a busy man. You can go. I appreciate your time. First of all, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here to go ahead and advise everybody and welcome everybody and invite everybody. Join us in a couple of weeks.
February 1st.
February 1st. I hope to hear from you and ask your questions. And I'm excited to have Dr. Edwards.
Yes.
We're also going to have our marketing director, Cindy Uriste.
She'll be with us on
yes. She'll be here with us. Yeah.
Okay.
And this will be our first one. And perhaps on the next follow-ups, we'll have other guests, other experts in the field, chaplains, social workers. The social worker is also an excellent person to invite because he's the one that helps with families for other types of assistance that they might need.
Right.
For just different type of dynamics and so forth. Sometimes our patients don't have anybody at home to watch over them because the children are out of state, they're working,
yeah.
And so he helps find some nonprofit organizations that we can go and they take care, and we do our job and take care of you there. So anyway, to make a long story short, we'll invite him perhaps on another podcast. Something to think about and to listen to his stories.
So a social worker can be brought into the situation to help figure out the logistics of how we're going to get mom, dad, and grandparent properly cared for. Before we leave, I mean, I can't forget this. Please give out your contact info.
Okay.
And I think, and I'm just learning in our conversation right here, communication is key, as it is with many other things. Pre-planned communication is even better.
Even better. You can find us we have a website and a Facebook. Just look us up under Concord Hospice Care. And you can send us a message or send us an email on our website, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can and answer your questions. Set up an EOB. An EOB is an explanation of benefits. Or if it doesn't get that far, if you just have a real simple question or anything, we can get back to you, answer your questions. But if you do have a particular case and you want to know if one of your parents or a loved one qualifies, we can go do an explanation of benefits where one of our marketers will go out there, or one of our nurses or somebody from our staff will go home to your house or wherever and explain how they could qualify or explain what it is. Because again, that's why we're going to talk about it.
Right.
And remember, it doesn't mean you're quitting on life. It doesn't mean it's the end, right? So there's so many different situations and stories. That's why we want to talk about those things, those myths and misunderstandings.
Because a lot of people are kind of apprehensive about talking about end of life situations, right? And it makes us realize our own mortality, so to speak, and or if we're talking about loved ones, we don't even want to think about it. We don't want to think about living life without mom, dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles.
And when it's time, it's too late to talk about it. It's already happening.
It's happening.
Like, you need the hospice today, and maybe hospice could have prevented that situation. We could have gotten mom and grandma a lot better.
Until you just said that, I never thought about that.
Yes, you
hospice
have to be proactive.
Can be preventative.
Yes, you can be proactive.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, you can be proactive. So you see, there's a lot of myths, right? A lot of misunderstandings.
Right. I never thought. I don't put the words hospice and prevention in the same sense. I've never thought of it in that way.
Yeah.
But
don't be the ostrich and say it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. Right.
Right.
You want to be proactive.
Excellent. You've just changed my whole paradigm on care, end of life care, and preventing end of life situations. Yes. So,
well, thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate the time that you allowed me to be here, and it was great seeing you.
Same here.
Again, enjoyed
we'll
being
be
here.
Making more connections, and again, give out your website one more time, please.
Oh, so you can find us real easy under Concord Hospice Care. We have a website. Just Google it, and you'll find us. And it is under construction. We're trying to update it and upgrade it and so forth. And you can also find us on Facebook under Concord Hospice Care. And just like any other Facebook, you can just message us there, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And thank you so much again, Chris, for having me over.
Julian, an honor, brother. An honor seeing you again. We'll be in contact. Your people can call me.
There we
and,
go.
Yeah. And we'll get together. We'll
Okay.
get something
Thank you.
going.
And we'll see you soon. We'll see you in a couple
Awesome.
weeks. All right.
Thank
you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Great opportunity, guys. If you know, many of you remember Julian, you remember him, and great guy, and he puts together a great team. I've got to talk to them. Excellent, very, very well spoken, very well organized. It's going to be great. Learning, okay, and as you may or may not have deduced from my surprise, it was a legitimate surprise. I've learned some things just sitting here, but I also learned in our conference call about hospice care and the difference between what I thought it was and what it really is. And Sue, you're on. What area? They're in the RGV, Rio Grande Valley. They're in Florida, and they're in Houston a little bit, and mostly Texas. But the thing about it is they can branch out quickly. They can communicate with someone in whatever area you find yourself in. And Sue, I know you're in Florida, so we can talk offline about it. But it's something that I'm learning about, and I'm learning that I want to learn more. And the more information we have, the better decisions we can make. So with that said, we'll go into a little bit of what it is that we usually get to, which is, fun stuff. Not to say that it's not fun to learn about important things, but we've got some things going on that I know you want to know about. We'll take our halfway break and remind you that we're on 97.7 FM KCYP the city out of McAllen, Texas, over the air, right? And digitally, we're here on Facebook, we're on YouTube, both the city 97.7 Facebook and YouTube, and Chris Ott and Bitcoin Otter Facebook and YouTube. So we're coming at you that way. And also, we're coming at you with some economic things, right? And this is almost obscene, everybody. This is almost, and what I'm getting at, it's not lurid, okay? But gold and silver almost did not move. And I'm saying within cents of each other, CENTS. Gold is at $2,034 an ounce. It was at like $2,036 last week when I said it, I think, if I remember correctly. Silver, $22.97 an ounce. I only when I updated my notes, I've got a what do you call it? A profile of the notes I use every week. A couple cents, that was it. Now Bitcoin has changed. It might be an opportunity for you. $40,851 pre-show, right? So it was like 46 last week, so 46,000. So if you're one of those buy the dip people, which you may or may not be, now is the chance, right? So who knows when it's going to come down to 40? That might be a support level, 40,000. Maybe it'll go lower, maybe it won't. I don't know. Average mortgage rates for those of you, unfortunately, you might have to buy a home at this time. If you have the option, you probably don't want to right now because the 30-year rate is 7.6. Average rate throughout the nation, 7.6%. Still high. 15-year rate, you're going to cut it down a little bit, but in my opinion, not significantly. 6.43% for a 15-year loan. It's just, to me, it's outrageous, but that's the world we live in. We've got a little bit of crypto news here. Bitcoin.com says IRS temporarily halts enforcement of digital asset reporting. Now, a lot of people have questions. Okay, how am I going to report this? I'll be honest with you, as I always am. I'm what they call a hodler. Hold on for dear life. HODL. Hold on for dear life. Meaning I have not liquidated any crypto. So I dabble in Bitcoin. A little bit of my favorite is Theta. I do a little XRP. Not a lot. I mean, unfortunately, I don't have a lot to sink into all this stuff, but I do have a small bag, as they say. So when I go into these things, you're always wondering, okay, what do I have to report? What do I don't have to report? But the fact of the matter is they're temporarily halting enforcement of digital asset reporting. What does this mean? The U.S. Treasury Department and the IRS service have announced a temporary reprieve for businesses in reporting certain digital asset transactions. This is Bitcoin.com, by the way, if you want to check it out. The latest guidance outlined in announcement 2024-4, okay, I guess they have so many that they got to separate them by numbers, comes as a relief to many of the digital currency space. As reported earlier, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which recently revised the rules, had expanded the definition of cash to include digital assets. So you talk with your tax expert or whatever, but they're backing off it a little bit. Does this coincide with the whole Bitcoin ETF thing? Not sure. I'm really not sure, but it's just something to pay attention to, right? So CoinDesk, and this is something I definitely wanted to talk about. This really, I can't tell you how happy I was to hear this. Now, I knew this was imminent because I know who, at least publicly, who Donald Trump is, right? So at some point or another, I knew that this was going to be the case because I know who not only Donald Trump is, but I know the role, the mantle, if you will, that he has put upon himself. And I'm going to say this. This is me. This is my jackpot. I'm not going to put anybody else into this jackpot. But I view him, okay, as someone that he very greatly admires, a former president, Andrew Jackson. And you know who Andrew Jackson is known as, or know what he's known for? He, in some circles, is called a bank killer. Why is he a bank killer? Why would he be called a bank killer? Well, I'll go back and explain that throughout the history of the United States, we have had three central banking systems, three central banks, if you will. The first one, I believe the charter ran out. The second one, they had to take measures to eradicate it because it was unwieldy for a free country. The third one that has been foisted upon us since 1913 is problematic. It's just not working for us, as we see that our US dollar has lost about 98% of its value, if I'm correct on that. Somebody correct me in the stats, but it's a massive amount of value that has been lost due to inflation and other things, but mostly inflation. So since 1913, and Dave on X22 report, check out the X22 report if you get a chance. He's really good at running through a lot of this stuff. But anyway, he uses the analogy of an ounce of gold and the value of gold when we went off of the gold standard. So in the 1970, I think it was 71, Nixon took us off. So if you were to, we can even go back further. So we go back a little further. Gold was at $30 an ounce, I believe, when they bought back gold, because at one point or another, believe it or not, they outlawed. Yeah, the government outlawed personal holdings of gold. Crazy, right? Crazy. You couldn't have gold because, well, the government said so. I won't get into it. But at that time, it was $30 an ounce. So if you were to bury $30 pieces of paper, right? Paper, Federal Reserve notes, US dollar, bury those $30 next to an ounce of gold, and you dig it up here in 2024, January 2024, right? What do we just say? $2,034 for an ounce of gold. So what would you rather have? Would you have those 30 pieces of paper there that were buried, or would you rather have that ounce of gold? Of course, you'd rather have the ounce of gold. But it goes to show you that the ounce of gold has not risen. It hasn't changed in any sense. That ounce of gold is the same way now as it was then. However, those pieces of paper have greatly devalued. And you know what, ladies and gents, I'm talking to most of you who are in my situation. I'm a wage slave. I trade time for money. What is time? Life. We're only given a certain amount. It's finite here on Earth. We were talking about that with Julian earlier about, end of life issues. We've only been given so much time. It's precious to us. We want to spend it with people we love, people we care about. Yet we have to go away from the home. We have to go outside of the home, the place, we feel comfortable with. Why? To have fun, to an adventure? No, not usually. We go to a job, a three-letter word that is sometimes a four-letter word. And we got to spend a lot of time there. I know in my case, it's a lot of time. So we go there, we trade our time for what they call money. With this money, we are able to support ourselves and our family, right? Now, when someone devalues our currency, what they're actually doing is devaluing our time. And if, again, we can extrapolate just one more step, they're devaluing our life. Ladies and gentlemen, when a person or a group of people orchestrate a devaluation, they are orchestrating pain, suffering, on the people who have that currency, hold that currency. For those of you that may not know, we are in a situation where a privately owned company, the Federal Reserve, determines monetary policy. Oh, you can poo-poo it. You can say, oh, the Treasury Department does this and they have representatives and they... No. If you print the money, if you own the money, you own the rest. Don't let them fool you. The federal moniker means nothing other than trying to convince you or fool you that it's somehow connected to the federal government. Julian, good to see you again. Alejandro, how you doing? And Brenda's on. Glad to see you. So what I'm getting at is this. Donald Trump has an admiration for Andrew Jackson, the bank killer, because Donald Trump is going to kill the banks. Not the one on your corner, not the guy you like, the teller that's very friendly to you and you speak to her and she's just a nice person and you say hi to her and she helps you out, and you have a conversation about the weather or whatever. Not them. But the Western central bankers, those fat cats with the huge stogies that are sitting in a room just deciding how they're going to make our life more miserable. In fact, if you want to read a good book about this, it's called The Creature from Jekyll Island. Why Jekyll Island? Because that's where they planned the Federal Reserve. All right, on Jekyll Island. So it sounds sinister because it is. Because the central banking system has done nothing good for us. Though they said that they were going to stabilize, they were going to make it so we wouldn't have ups and downs, extremes and this and that. But you know what? That's life. Life is extreme if you haven't checked your rearview mirror lately. Life is extreme if you haven't taken your pulse. So who are they to say that they're going to protect us? So when Donald Trump went live from, I think it was New Hampshire, and this is from CoinDesk. Donald Trump vows to never allow central bank digital currencies if elected. If you watch the show at all, you're going to see, Pablo, good to see you. You're going to see and you're going to know that central bank digital currencies are programmed money that is not in your best interest. Why? Because they control it all. If you think they control the Federal Reserve, no, wait till you see these central bank digital currencies. They control what you can buy, when you can buy it. They track it. They record it. They go to extreme lengths to figure out what you're buying, how you're buying it. And if they don't like you and if they don't like what you say, they're going to stop you from buying. They might even stop you from spending. They can do whatever they want because they own the money, and just a little keyboard will either take your money or restrict it if they want to. It's all on their own whim. So former president and front runner of the Republican leadership race, Donald Trump, this is again from CoinDesk, has promised to ban the creation of a central bank digital currency, CBDC, during a campaign stop in New Hampshire. As your president, says Donald Trump, I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. He was joined by crypto-friendly former candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, who recently suspended his campaign. Another point of interest, Vivek, if you guys have been listening to him, very bright young man, very bright guy, says a lot of things that we would agree with. But he didn't get the votes. He abandoned his candidacy and is now backing Donald Trump. A bit of news in case you knew, didn't know, whatever. That's it. But I guess he was there with him in New Hampshire. And the main thrust of this story, ladies and gentlemen, is that if Donald Trump gets back in office, if he once again is in that White House, he will not allow central bank digital currencies. That's great news to me, ladies and gents. That is just superb news. I couldn't be happier about that particular subject, because I also know that when Donald Trump says something, like, hey, I'm going to go into North Korea and shake the guy's hand and make peace, he does it. He does it. Others wouldn't. They'll say it. Like certain people we know in the White House that say, oh, yeah, we're going to go down to the border and check that out. No, not so much. We're here. No, they haven't come. The border czar certainly hasn't visited here. Not at all. And Brenda, keep up the good work and to keep praise Trump and Brenda. And from Uncle Ray. Thank you, Uncle Ray. Thank you, Aunt Brenda. Glad you guys are watching. Thank you. I appreciate that. Matt's on. Tammy's on. Glad to have you guys all here. From X, Miranda Devine says, in a new court filing today, the DOJ confirms Hunter Biden's laptop is real. Hunter Biden's laptop is real. Wow, that's only, 2-3 years behind, but that's the DOJ for you. The DOJ actually admitted, yeah, you finally, wow. Yeah, it's real. It's real. We all knew it was real. Of course it's real. Chihuahuas, what are you thinking? It's not real. The guy leaves his laptop. I mean, when you got a crack pipe, I don't know. But I would imagine if I was, if I hit the crack pipe one of these days, I might not even make the show. You'd know. So if I dropped a laptop somewhere, I'd probably forget, hey, where did I drop the laptop off? But it just so happened that all of his, craziness, it's got to think, you think about if you were in Hunter's situation, you got to smoke crack. You got to, get up at hookers. You got to, run your dad's 20 shell companies. You got to go in and get that contract with Ukraine. You got to work with the Chinese. You got to keep, basically deep secrets in boxes in a rental house that you let the Chinese people into. You got to do all that stuff. So how are you going to remember a laptop? How are you going to remember it? Bottom line is it's real, and even the feds admit to it. So it says that he left at a computer store and that the contents matched what they obtained from a search warrant of his iCloud. Wow, they're finally admitting it. And this again is Miranda Devine on X. Don't hold your breath for a retraction from Joe Biden. It's a Russian plant, said Joe. That laptop is a Russian plant. Of course, he's lied about that. The Dirty 51. Do you remember the Dirty 51? 51. No less than 51 security experts. Okay, these are 3-letter agency people. These are 3-letter agency people from DOJ and the secret labs too. 51 of them signed an affidavit. These are people with 10, 15, 20, 30-year careers. Tim, good to see you. 10, 15, 30-year careers in the NSA, CIA, the OS, whatever it is, whatever you could think of, the spy people, the confidential information, okay? Classified, this, that. 51 of them signed an affidavit saying that the Hunter laptop was not real and it resembled Russian disinformation. They were lying. They were lying, as they so often do. 51 security officials, okay, intelligence officials signed on to this thing knowing that it was Hunter's laptop. The real deal, man. He didn't just get acting hookers. They were real hookers. It was real crack. He was smoking it. It was all there, okay? It wasn't fake. Like they said, it wasn't Russian. It was American and, Chinese because they sponsored it, They sponsored it because they paid him and his dad to do these things. So, thank you, Joe. He's doing some technical stuff on the run. We are so advanced here. Joe comes in, bam, boom, zooming in, coming at you live. So, I thought I saw something here from Tim earlier. Matt DiPiola going to have to rewatch once it's off live and available. Yeah, you guys are going to see that familiar face of Julian Silva. Great guy. So a couple weeks again, and I'm going to remind y'all, a couple weeks we're going to have a roundtable with Dr. Ivan Edwards. And it's something we all need to talk about because we all have loved ones that we care about, hospice care. So it'll be a good show. You'll learn a lot. I know I have just in, the few conversations that I've had with them, and their team reached out to us. Great group of people. So back to the laptop, the Dirty 51. I like that. The Dirty 51, or myriad of dishonest media operatives. Yeah, and that's just it. If you're watching the news, you're watching operatives. If you're reading a newspaper, operatives wrote it. Or it could be AI now again. Who knows? They blame Russia when the Bidens knew it was Hunter. And so did the FBI. Do you think the Russians left that baggie of cocaine? Renee, do you think the Russians left a baggie of cocaine in the White House? Do you think that was the Russians? No, I don't either. I don't think it was the Russians either. I think the guy named Hunter did that too. Who knows? I don't know. I guess when you're making so much money from China, you can afford to just leave your bags of coke laying around. He doesn't, he's probably got them everywhere. What does he need to keep track of them for? Hunter also blamed Russia when he was caught using adultery site Ashley Madison. Hunter blamed Russia for that. Oh, Ashley Madison is what, the comrade? What I don't know how he must have vocalized that one. So it's just amazing how these people, and she's got if you look on X for Miranda Devine, she's also got a graphic there, and basically it explains how they finally came to the realization, they knew all along, that it was real. Investigators also later came into possession of the defendant's Apple MacBook Pro, which he had left at a computer store. So, we all knew it was real, right? We knew. What are you going to? How do you fake the hedonistic lifestyle of a guy who's an international, pimp for his dad? How do you fake that? I don't know how you fake that. I don't understand. Now, just imagine. I have to flip this. Just imagine if that was Donald Trump Jr. Could you imagine the headlines? Could you imagine how much exposure this would get? Crazy. This is from Zero Hedge. U.S. consumers are engaging in a historic debt binge, and delinquencies are ominously rising. So there is, and I'll go into this, I guess, but this is an article about what people have been forced to do, the corner that many of us have been forced into based on this economy. And you hear me talk about this all the time because I think it's important. I think it's important that we prepare ourselves for an economic downturn, and it might be much steeper than we might have previously thought. But when we think about these things, or when we try to predict what's going to happen or what might come next, we use certain indicators to determine whether or not the trend is going in the direction we believe it's going to go, negatively or positively. It doesn't really matter. Is it going in the direction we're thinking it's going to go into? And what are the indicators that it is going in the direction we think? One of those indicators is consumer debt. Ladies and gentlemen, it has risen to the point where it is untenable for many people. And we're talking, I want to say over 50%. It doesn't have a complete number here, but part of it in this article says, in America today, the cost of living has become exceedingly oppressive. Great word, by the way, oppressive. And remember, this is not by accident. It's the usual suspects, that Federal Reserve cabal that we were talking about earlier. Employers are laying off large numbers of workers. And I spoke about this a couple shows ago, that the amount of people that have full-time jobs was decimated. I think it went down like 1.5 million people lost their full-time jobs. As by the same token, and obviously there's a correlation, the people who have part-time jobs rose immensely. So you're seeing a time when the average, I think it was 56%. I think if anybody has a better number, let me know. Mike, good to see you, Mike. I think it's 56% of American workers have more than one job. I mean, it has to happen. I mean, you have to make ends meet, but over half of the American workers hold more than one job. Some of them 3. Is this the way we want to live? Is this the way we want to continue in this country? Because if it is, well, let's just reelect Joe. And if he remembers where the White House is, he'll be there for us. Ladies and gents, I'm telling you, there is something seriously wrong with our country. And I don't want to, overstep my bounds here in my role as a watcher on the wall, as I've told you before. That's how I view myself in my role anyway. But the fact of the matter is, somebody's got to say something. People are waking up all around the country, probably the world, but I'm a patriot of this country because I was born here. I serve it in different aspects, in different ways, but I want to serve the people and helping people realize that we're in a bad spot. We've got to do something. We got to help each other out, because consumer debt is the way it is because people are putting their bills. It's not like they're going to a weekend in Cancun or something like that. And maybe some are putting that on the credit card. It's paying the light bill. It's paying the water bill. People don't have enough money to pay these bills. and they put it on a credit card. Okay. And what does that do? That just kicks the can. And it's worse off now because when you're paying that off, you're paying the banks off. And I don't know if you have looked at credit card interest rates lately. It's insane. Then, okay, try imagining if you're late. Have you seen these late fees lately? Have you seen what they're going to charge you if you're 30 days delinquent? They call it delinquent. If you're 30 days late on a credit card payment, how they jack up the interest rate and assess penalties. Ladies and gentlemen, they got us where they want us. They have us. They are poised to decimate the middle class and make us all poor. Why would they do that, Otter? Why would they? Because they get to pick up the pieces. The stuff that we leave, the mortgages we can't pay on homes that are going to get repossessed, they're going to move in. BlackRock, oh man, that company. Remember what happened in the Maui fires? Okay, I mean, we all know that suspect is all get out, right? You don't think that those people who own those homes, and they were regular homes, we're talking, 1,500 square, 1,800 square foot homes, but because of where they were on Maui, they were sometimes multi-million-dollar homes. They got burned down. The whole place gets burned down, just decimated, burned, except for the blue umbrellas and the blue cars. We'll talk about that some other time. But Laina in Maui got decimated. And there were people, rich people, rich companies, ready to scoop it up. Oh, you're in pain. Oh, you lost everything. We can help. Here we go. And they scoop it up. That, ladies and gentlemen, is part of what's going on here. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to jump into my jackpot. I understand it. But the fact of the matter is, there will be people that will take your repossessed car. There will be people that will buy your hacked computers and TVs and everything else that you're going to have to depart with just to pay bills. And they're going to buy your home. If you're a homeowner and you can't pay the mortgage, they're going to buy that when it defaults. They're ready for it. Why? Because they see it coming. They've planned for this. It's a cycle, ladies and gentlemen. It's a cycle that they've redone over and over and over again. That's why one of my biggest points is to let everyone know. There's other ways you can find out. There's many ways you can find out, but I'm here to help you see that there are places you can put your money if you are in the fortunate and blessed position that we are. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Some of us can actually save money. Not all of us. And we're here for you that can't. But some of us, if we can save money, have to save it in a place where it won't be devalued like the US dollar is being devalued. I got debanked because I have this message. The Bitcoin Otter is a private membership association. And I had a bank at one time that didn't want me anymore because they said that it was dangerous to deal in cryptocurrency. Do you think I was going to store any cryptocurrency in the bank? No, it wasn't about that. It was about freedom, because they know that the message of Bitcoin, and you don't have to believe me in this, there are other ways you could, hide your hard-earned money, gold, silver, real estate, right? But Bitcoin is a freedom that we haven't had previously since 2009 anyway. We haven't had it. How is it free? You store it. It's yours. Nobody else can touch it. You're the bank. Oh, they that frosts their muffin. I'll tell you that. We're the bank. When you own Bitcoin, really own it, not on an exchange somewhere or on, Cash App. When you really own it, when you have it in your wallet, you're the bank. You're the shot caller. You make the rules. And they hate that. They hate it because you are in control. They want to be in control of you. They can't have it the other way around. Think of the ratio of us compared to them. They are minuscule. They're parasites. All these rich fat cats that you can't even count their money because if they're part of the Federal Reserve, they just keep it in the butt. Oh, you think I have this much money? I got this much. Oh, no, I got this much. enter 000. There's very few of them, but there are many of us. First step, self-preservation. Okay, we got to look out for ours. We got to look out for our own. Second step, we come together. We communicate. Okay. Third step, we remember that it is we the people that elect representatives in government, not install. Okay. The whole World Economic Forum and all that. And we're running out of time here, and I appreciate your attention. But as I mentioned, Sue says, it's frost your cookies, not muffins. Muffin man, the muffin man. Well, sorry, the muffin man. I forgot. Matt says, can we talk about the situation in Eagle Pass, Texas versus the evil regime? Thank you, Matt. If we go over a little bit, I apologize. But I'll tell you what, this is something, and I thank you, Matt. I appreciate that, because I was going to go on to something else, and I'll talk about it in a different time. Javier Milei from Argentina talked at the WEF, World Economic Forum. You got to check that out. Just look it up. Javier Milei, Davos. The parasites meet at Davos every year to figure out how they're going to chuparnos of vida, of our lives. They're going to suck our lives out of us. Okay, so evil muffins. Yes, Sue, we hate evil muffins. We like good ones, though. Just hate the evil ones. Now, what's the situation in Eagle Pass? I don't know. I'm not in Eagle Pass. So first of all, we got to say I'm not on the ground. I don't know. But what I'm hearing is the state of Texas, with the great Governor Greg Abbott, has taken control of portions of Texas, which is their purview, okay? Because, well, they're Texans. So there is a border of one country to another. And here in Texas, much of it is the Rio Grande River, okay? So this river is a border, a physical border between Mexico and the United States of America. I know I'm simplifying this, but I want to lay down the groundwork. Now, there are many governments within government, right? So you have our federal government, okay, which is, and I like to say this all the time, one of the very few federal law enforcement agencies that is constitutionally mandated is the U.S. Border Patrol. All the other three-letter agencies are not constitutionally mandated, and there's a very good argument, and I would make it, but on a different show, that they are unnecessary. Now, the U.S. Border Patrol, however, is the agency that the federal government uses to take upon the shoulders of the federal government the mantle and the constitutional mandate to defend the borders of the United States, if there is political will to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know, Juan, good to see you. We all know that there is zero political will to defend the borders at this point in time. So we have, I think it was 8 million people that have entered without inspection. What does that mean? They have entered without presenting themselves at a port of entry. We have them there for a reason, believe it or not. We have things called ports of entry. They're there for the reason of inspecting individuals to see if they are worthy of allowing them entry into the United States. But when you have an atmosphere of political, I won't go too much further down that road, but when you have the political atmosphere that we do, you just let everybody in. Whatever they say, you believe them. And they all come in. There are many reasons why they're allowing this. They're not only allowing it, they're encouraging it. But what you're talking about, Matt, is a showdown. So we have the feds, and we have, I guess you could call it local here in Texas, the state authorities have decided that they're not going to allow people, human beings, to cross from one country to another because, well, there are rules here. There are rules. There are laws. And it's against the law to do that. I mean, I know, Washington does not care about laws, at least not when it pertains to them. So, or their plans. So Texas says, we're not going to let anybody in. They're literally facing people down on the riverbanks and telling them they got to go back, are the Texas authorities. Now, the U.S. authorities, the federal government says, you cannot enforce Texas law in Texas because we're federal agents or federal agencies, and we will run this. If you interfere with the federal officials, okay, who are allowing the migrants, they like to call them, to cross into the United States, enter further, and basically facilitating the transport of these migrants into the United States, which is what this political landscape is creating, a mass invasion of migrants, right? They're not bad. Some of them are very nice. You don't think they'd let bad people in, do you? You think they'd let bad people in? You think anybody gets hurt by someone who's here illegally? I don't know. Anyway, yes, I'm being facetious. So the showdown is this. What's going to happen when the federal government goes against a state government? This is going to be something to watch. Because if you're a student of history, you might know that when this nation was founded, there was a big, big debate, argument even, heated debate about whether or not states' rights superseded federal rights, meaning the government, the right of the government. Which one holds sway? Now, the vast majority of the founding fathers were for state rights. We have to have a federal overarching, if we want to be a nation, overarching set of rules. How extensive is the enforcement of these rules? We're going to see. We're going to find out. Right? Marcos, good to see you. We're talking, Marcos, about the standoff that might be happening on the southern border. I think you're familiar with that, Marcos. The southern border. So in Eagle Pass, we're going to find out whether the federal government is going to take action against the Texas state government authorities. In fact, the Texas National Guard is out there. So this is interesting, ladies and gentlemen, and all eyes, all how would you say, inquisitive eyes and ears are on this. We're gonna see. I don't know how this is gonna play out, but I'm definitely following it. And Marco says, "Go Bills, go Texans." Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before we leave here, before I forget, go Bills. I think maybe if we had the offensive line of the Bills on the border, we might be better off. I think maybe not. But back to the serious. We're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen. A lot will be determined. A lot will be known once we see what's going to happen. And we could go down a slippery slope, or we could see a stance for state rights, or a precedent, if you will. We're going to keep our eyes open. We're going to keep our ears open. We went over a little bit, everybody, and I appreciate the crew hanging on with me for this. But we had a good show. If you get a chance to go back to it, we had Julian Silva from Concord Hospice. We're going to have a 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a roundtable discussion with Dr. Ivan Edwards, who is out of San Antonio. Brilliant man. He's just, you'll see what I mean. Very personable man, humble and patient, articulate all at once. So very, very big show for us coming up that we all need to pay attention to, because hospice care is much more than we know, as they will explain to us, and much more than we imagine, and we need it more than we think we do. So we'll be doing that in 2 weeks, February 1st, Thursday, February 1st. But for this week, ladies and gents, I want to sign off with a reminder that God wins. God wins in the end. You can pick your team. We all pick our team based on our actions, sometimes our words, but God's team's going to win. The script is already written. The game plan's there to win. We got a dub for God in the end. Okay? So I just want to remind you that no matter how bad things might seem, we're going to win in the end. It's going to be okay. Reach out to me if you want. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. I'll get back to you. You want to learn about some of the things that I'm talking about here, or get a source for one of the stories or two of the stories that we're following, I'll throw it at you, and you come back to me. Let me know what you find out. We can share it here on the show. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you paying attention. I don't know if you're driving around, you're looking at the show. Marco says Florida is going to send more personnel. Yes, that's awesome. That is awesome. Florida's coming through. I'll tell you what, say what you want about DeSantis, but he's a great governor. Joe, hey Joe, he's around here somewhere watching. So, Matt, just come on, Matt. That's a low blow about the Cowboys. Come on. I won't pick them, but jeepers. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in and participating. I love this. I really hope that we can stick together through thick and thin. And as long as we're here, as long as you're here, we're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We can discuss hardships and challenges, but we're going to be okay. Thank God above and my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who, as Renee and I were talking earlier in the show, CJ Stroud was cut off by NBC because he said the name above all names, Jesus Christ. Anyway, we're not going to deal with that censorship here. Right, Jesus? Right. Thank you all. Have a great week. I'll be throwing out some Facebook things, I'm sure, to you. Throw some to me. Enjoy yourselves. God bless you. And have a great, great week. Thank you.